So, welcome everyone. Thank you all for coming, and Louisa, thank you for coming. Our guest today, Louisa Henry, you might also know her as Scottish geologist from Instagram or other social media platforms. She graduated from the University of Glasgow with a bachelor degree in earth science in 2015. She was also a student of Daniel Cohn back then when he was also at Glasgow. But right now she's working as a senior engineering geologist, and of course became famous because of her funny and creative videos about geology and rock formations on social media. Actually today.
So these are some Scottish words that I might say today that you might not understand, and this is just what they mean. So duck means dog, because I have 4 dogs, and sometimes they wander about in my videos. I means yes. So sometimes I'll say I, this, that, the next thing, I. It's a bit disjointed. No means no. We means small or little, so I might say we. A lot is like a Scottish phrase that Scottish people just like to add in we, like in every sentence. Ma means mum, so if I talk about my wee mum, like my wee mother, and that means more information that doesn't make sense. Hen means women, so sometimes in my videos you see, or girl, or my dog, like sometimes in my videos you see Yura, my dog, wandering about, and I'm just like, come here hen, come here now, and she's just like wanders over. I'm just referring to her as hen. It's a Scottish, Glaswegian kind of word. Son means man, boy, but I don't think I'll use that today. Wains means babies, or like children, or my dogs, so I might refer to them as wains, but again, this is supposed to be about geology, not dogs. Means I, so if I say I went here, it means I went here, but I'll try and make it make sense, like throughout the talk. And then it's mad, or means it's, it's amazing, like, and then if I swear in this talk, it just, because being a Scottish person, you swear quite a lot. If I say it's fucked up, like that usually refers to metamorphic rocks or rocks that have undergone a really complicated history. Is anyone against me swearing? I mean, I'll try not to swear as much because this has to be professional and a certain way. But in case it slips out, I'm just letting you know. Okay, so like every geologist, I grew up with a fascination with rocks and volcanoes, so I love watching the 90s movies such as Volcano or Armageddon, about volcanoes. I like watching documentaries. I like collecting rocks off the beach and put them in my pocket, and that was how it all started. But I didn't know you could go study geology until I was in my 5th year at school. I went to University of University of Glasgow and seen that there was a stall set up with rocks and that on it, and I was like, yeah, I want to go through that, let's go study rocks. After my degree, in 2015, I graduated and I started working for a smaller engineering contractor as a graduate engineer geologist. Now, as an engineer geologist, as you'll see, these big bad boys are drilling rigs, so we drill and do ground investigations across the UK. Depending on what you're going to build, a road, railway, or houses, anything that you need to build a structure for, you need to do a ground investigation for. So we drill boreholes across the UK, and when you get to drill boreholes in the Scottish Highlands, you get to come across some really, really beautiful, fascinating rocks, and I loved it being a junior. So I worked on big highway schemes, railway schemes, ones that were between £2 to £4 million worth, up to £11 million. So I got to work my way up quite quickly in my career, which was really, really good because, not a lot of people can do that really quickly. Anyway, last year in April, I started the whole Scottish geologist thing, and I've gained quite a lot of followers from it just by being myself and talking about rocks. I basically gave my mum, my wee ma, my phone, when we were in the northwest Highlands of Scotland, and asked her to start recording me, and I was standing next to a rock face with some of the oldest rocks in Scotland, and it just started going viral, and I was like, people like rocks, this is good, this is great, it's going to get rocks and geology out there. And then this year, I started my own company on the side as well as working full time. I've started Scott Rock Walks, Scottish Geology Tours, which is going to provide the general public and people that have that interest in geology with, geology field trips that, are basic to understand, because geology can get complicated sometimes, And this talk is quite basic. It's to do with mainly the Geology of Scotland, which I'll move on in a bit. Anyway, this is me. If you don't already follow me, you can do so, like just using that link, or you can check out all my other social media accounts. Like, again, this is a little bit outdated. I'm now at 250,000 followers on Instagram alone. I've got 372,000 followers, like, across, like, all of my social media, so it's just kind of growing arms and legs. But I don't really care about the followers of that, I just do it because it promotes the subject, and I love, like, what I do. I love rocks. And I'm pretty sure some people in here are probably the same, and you love rocks too, or well, maybe not as much as me, but, like, you know. Anyway, why did I start doing it? Well, I noticed that there was a decline in people that were coming into the industry. Like, from when I graduated, there was like 70 of us. I don't know what it's like if it's the same in Germany, but when I graduated, there was 70 of us, and now there's only 30 people graduating, like, with the same degree that I did. So we struggle to get engineers in, like geologists, into the industry. I think most contractors nowadays struggle to get people in, and I was just like, hey, something has to change. I'm just going to go on and wing it and start making videos about rocks and promote geology in a way that, you know, everyone's going to their phones, so it's the right way, it's the right direction, and that's why I do it. And, you know, it's grown, as I said before, arms and legs. So I started doing that on social media, and I just felt like there wasn't enough, like, out there. It's kind of a forgotten subject. There's a lot of controversy to do with the subject when it comes to oil and gas and lithium batteries and all that crap. But, like, you know, when you think about it, you need geologists in the way this world that we live in, you need them. Like, you know, you can't not have a geologist. Maybe that's what I was talking about. These are some of the pieces of core from, like, the Dalradian supergroup, which is found in the main part of the Cambrian Highlands in Scotland. And they have these beautiful folds in them, and oh my god, like, that's just a piece of rock that I put on it that's shaped like a olive heart. That's not actually on the road. Anyway, let's move on. So, gaining, yeah, a lot of followers. This is already kind of listing some of the things that I've been, like, you know, doing over the last year. I've got to pitch in front of commissioners for the BBC, which I never thought I'd have the opportunity to do. I might end up on the TV, you never know. Like, I do a lot of outreach programmes with Story Contracting, the company that I work for as an engineer and geologist. I've been listed as one of the top 20 women in the UK for what I do. And I'm now an ambassador for the North West Highlands, and I don't really consider myself as an influencer unless it's, like, you know, a rock influencer, like a rock star, like, you know, because I don't, yeah, it's different when it comes to geology and education and stuff, like online, like, but some people like to call me a rock star and a rock influencer, but that just kind of lists some of the achievements over the last year that I've been involved in, which has been kind of good, because I got to do things like this and talk about rocks, like, with a green screen behind me, and I was like, this is amazing, like, wow, I can't believe I'm on the BBC, like, there's me there, wow, this is so cool. But anyway, enough about that, and that's just my geology tour for me. We'll move on to the Geology of Scotland, and I'll try and make this as understandable as I can, but it does get really complicated, but we'll see how it goes. Right, we'll see how it goes. So this is such a lovely, beautiful map of the Geology of Scotland. As you can see, there's various different rock types you can find across the area of Scotland. And Scotland can be kind of divided into three main subdivisions. You've got the Highlands, you've got the Highlands up here, and then you've got the Lowlands, right? And they each kind of represent, they have their own history, but it's actually made of 5 different terrains, like geological terrains, that have all been kind of amalgamated together during what's known as the Caledonian orogeny, which was around 450 million years ago. So the terrains are highlighted here, right? So your most northern terrain, you've got your Hebridean terrain, you've got your North Highlands terrain, your Central Highlands terrain, your Midland Valley terrain, and your Southern Uplands terrain. These are all separated by main fault lines that cut across and scar the landscape of Scotland. And some of the fault lines can be seen from above. If you're just looking at a topographical map of Scotland, you can see these fault lines just by looking at Scotland, like, what's that? That's a scar, like, you know, like, that's a fault line. So these have all came together during that big mountain building event 450 million years ago. Now, I'm not too sure what Germany's geological history is, but I guess I'll find that out tomorrow, because we're going on a field trip, and I'm quite excited, because I get to see eclogite, and I've not seen eclogite in, you know, outcrop yet, so I've only ever seen it in hand specimen, and I don't have any of it, so I'm hoping that the airport security let me take it home with me, but we'll see. Anyway, we'll start with the oldest terrain, which is your Hebridean terrain. That's the terrain that represents the Northwest Highlands and your Isle, like your Outer Hebrides, which are these islands here, the Isle of Lewis, Harris, North Hughes, South Hughes and Barra. These have some of the oldest rocks found in Europe, and they're absolutely stunning, like such pretty rocks to look at, like, oh my goodness, they're one of my favourite kind of rocks. So these have been like seriously metamorphosed, seriously fucked up when it comes to like geology, and there's been a lot of controversy about them. The reason they're called a complex is because they have a complicated history, and I think they're still trying to figure it all out. Anyway, they're overlying like by the Torridonian sandstones, which are sedimentary, as you can tell in the name, like which were deposited during a rifting event, like by grading rivers 1.2 billion years ago to 800 million years ago, which again is unconformably overlain by your Cambrian or Division sedimentary rocks, which are found like here, just at this edge of this what's known as the Moine Thrust, which separates our Hebridean terrain and our northern Highlands terrain in here, which we'll move on to talk about in a minute. So, is everyone understanding me so far, or am I talking too fast? Okay, that guy's got a thumbs up, it's all good. Right. So, our beautiful Lewisian nice complex, which I still don't really understand, but I'm here today talking about it, you know. So, oldest rocks in Britain, they've been dated up to 3 billion years old. That's mad, isn't it, to think that you've got rocks in Scotland that are 3 billion years old, especially when the Earth's like 4.6 billion years old. You're thinking, how did these form? Oh my goodness. But they represent your basement. They sit under everything in this Hebridean terrain, right? And they've been fully metamorphosed. They've been metamorphosed over and over and over again. They've been buried up to 50 kilometres within like, the ground. They've just about one point melted, then came back up on the surface again. So they've been banded, buckled, folded, faulted. They are complicated. And as I said before, they're found in the Northwest Highlands and the Outer Hebrides. Another thing about them is they're cut by various different igneous intrusions. So you have your Skye dikes, which are basic to ultra basic igneous intrusions, like mainly golodite that's now turned into an amphibolite because that's underwent some metamorphism as well. So they cut through, and you can see them clearly, like the black kind of banding, like they not that, sorry. I don't have a photo of them. Oh crap. It might be in the next slide, or it might be gone, but I'll show you the photo later. Because I've amended these slides so many times that I can't remember what's on them. So yeah, they've cut across like big black, massive, beautiful like dikes and you get 3 different types of like Lewisian gneiss. Like you've got your Skye gneisses, which are very old, like 2.7 billion years old, and they're deformed and metamorphosed. Like they've been deformed and metamorphosed under extreme conditions, so around 60 kilometres buried within the crust. You have like pyroxene granulites, which usually have dark feldspars and blue quartz in them, but then if you've got the pyroxene rather than the hornblende, it occurs due to the anhydrous conditions that these gneisses have undergone. Again, there's a lot of information in here, and I'm so sorry if someone gets lost, especially with my accent. And then you have the Laxfordian gneisses. They've been so deformed and metamorphosed that they're no longer recognised as intrusions. You can't see the Skye dikes running through them. It's just all like incorporated into the surrounding gneiss, so the bands are just all separated out, like, and it's just a mess, like an absolute mess. So the original gneiss as well also looks different due to the hydrous conditions, like deep within the crust. And then you've got the Laxfordian events, which you can find at a place called Laxford Bridge, which has the most beautiful, like that I've seen, like the geology, like the most beautiful, like stunning, like Lewisian gneisses I've ever seen in my life. They're absolutely amazing to look at, and you can see like the beautiful black like Skye dikes cutting through it, and then you have your pegmatites and your granitic intrusions like cutting through that again, like, and then you just have this gneiss and it's all over the place. Like I wish I had a photograph of it, but I think I've removed it, which is a shame, but I'll show you later on. So yeah, they're the oldest rocks in Scotland, and they're overlaid by what's known as the Torridonian sandstones, which are sedimentary, so they're quite flat-lying, and you can see them in the Highlands, usually making up most of the Munros. A Munro in Scotland's a mountain that you go up. It's more than, I can't remember the actual like terminology for it, but yeah, however many metres it is, but yeah, so most of the Munros in your Northwest Highlands, like your Hebridean terrain are made of this Torridonian sandstone, and right at the top of them they have Cambrian quartzite, usually capping them, like because it's a lot harder, like, and it caps it and it kind of sticks out. Sometimes you can see it from a distance. So these were deposited, as I said before, by graded rivers, like in a rift and set in a rift valley, like, and it's around like 1 billion to 810 million years ago, like years old, sorry, and it's just very thick accumulations of sedimentary rocks, like back during that period of time. It's separated into 2 groups. You've got your store group, which has a lot of breccious conglomerates, like, and contains mysterious rocks in them, because when you think back, like, you know, during that point in time, there's like a gap in time between the Lewisian and the Torridonian sandstones, and the conglomerates of the Torridonian sandstones of this store group actually contain rocks from other places that we don't actually know the geological history of, because there's that unconformity between them, there's that gap in time. So it just makes you think, oh, I wonder what was going on in between that time. But again, a lot of controversy and a lot of very complex and complicated in between those 2 groups. Then you have your Torridon group, which is fixed sequences of red sandstones that are rich in cave feldspars, breccias and conglomerates, which usually pass upwards into flaggy red sandstones with ripple marks, together with the shales and desiccation cracks. So there's quite a lot going on in the Torridonian sandstones, but they've not really been affected by any metamorphism whatsoever. Slide. So on top of your Torridonian sandstones, there's obviously your Cambrian and Ordovician rocks, and the earth slightly tilted, like after the Torridonian sandstone, like there was a long period of like erosion that took place, and then you had the transgression of the sea. So at this point in time, Scotland was situated close to the South Pole, and marine conditions kind of took place, like, you know, like the sea level had rose, and you had like the deposition of like first the Cambrian quartzite, which had like white sand, like that actually caps the mountains, as I said before in that previous photograph, the mountains. You have the Torridonian layers of the Torridonian sandstone, and then you can usually see the white caps of the Cambrian quartzite on top of it. So that sits directly on top of your your Torridonian sandstones, and dips towards the east at 10 to 20 degrees and cuts across Torridonian sandstones in certain areas. On top of this, you have what's known as your pipe rock, which is here. And at first, I think when they first discovered this, they were like, what's going on? But this is actually one of the representations of the first signs of life. These little wee burrows are, you know, bioturbation, like it's made by little wee worms back like 500 odd million years ago. And then on top of that, you've got your fucoid beds. The only picture I've got of the fucoid beds is here. This is at a place known as Knocking Crag that you can go visit in the northwest Highlands of Scotland, where you can actually put your hand on the Moine Thrust and touch the layers in between, like the Darness limestone underneath, and then you can touch like the Moine supergroup, which is your metasedimentary rocks. So it's quite a cool place to go if you're ever in Scotland. I definitely recommend it if you want to see a thrust fault. I don't know how many thrust faults you guys have here, but some. Like, Scotland's cool, you know. So fucoid beds, it was quite funny because at first they thought it was seaweed, and that's why they named it fucoid. Fucoid's a type of seaweed, but it's not seaweed. You kind of see these weird like looking bands they fought back in the day. Oh, yeah, we're just going to name that fucoid beds. It's not seaweed. It's just, it's just reddish brown shales with occasional sandy layers in there and ripple marks and cross-bedding laminations. And there's actually worm burrows in it as well. And then on top of that, which I didn't actually get to see in person, is a Saltarella grit, which is a dolomitic quartzite. It's a very, very thin layer, but it's abundant in Saltarella, I can't even say that anymore, which are very small, it's a very small worm-like organism. And then on top of that, you have your Darness limestone, which is dolomite, and that's at the lower part of the Cambrian. It belongs in where fossils can be found. So that's your Cambrian Ordovician rocks in your north-west height and your Hebridean terrain. So you can see it here. I've just looked back a few slides. You've got your Lewisian gneiss, your Torridonian sandstone sitting on top, and then right at this edge, you've got your Cambrian rocks, which are right under the Moine Thrust fault. So there's not a lot of exposure. Well, there is actually a lot of exposure, but there's not a lot when you look at that map. It's just right on top of that, and then below the Moine Thrust. So we move forward. Oh yeah, and we add this in because Skye, the Isle of Skye is situated here. But we're kind of going a little bit forward in time when it comes to geology, because when you look at Scotland, you're kind of going back in time, because you've got your oldest rocks in the northwest Highlands, but as you work your way through, you kind of work your way to some younger rocks, and then it goes back to older rocks again, so it gets a little bit complicated as well with regards to that. But Isle of Skye is known, like, obviously it's a volcanic island, like from like when the opening of the Atlantic Ocean like took place like 65 million years ago, but it also has rocks that are Jurassic in age, so you can find the dinosaur footprints. Like there's one there if you can see it clearly. That was like a little bit more clear. So around 166 million years ago you had like these dinosaurs known as Megalosaurus, and I think they've found a lot more than that. It's quite funny because the picture that obviously is from Jurassic Park fandom, like I've just like referenced that there like at the bottom, and I'm like, oh god, I could find another picture of this guy. But yeah, back in the day he was, you know, roaming like a nice shallow marine area on the Isle of Skye, and they left these footprints behind, and they're pretty cool to look at, and they've found a lot more as well in the Isle of Skye recently too, just of random pieces of dinosaurs. So that's cool. Scotland had dinosaurs at one point. Anyway, moving on. The Moine Thrust fault, very, very complicated, but basically it's dipping at a low angle and it carries a Moine supergroup on top of it, so you can kind of see it here. As we spoke about before, you've got your Lewisian nice at the bottom, your oldest rocks, your basal quartzite, like your Cambrian quartzite, and your pipe rock, and then obviously you'd have your Burness limestones, etc. in there. And this has just been pushed over. Like pushed over on top of those rocks, just due to what's known as the Caledonian or Orcadian, which happened 450 million years ago, that we'll move on to speak about in a few slides' time. So this is me touching the Moine Thrust, and I'm like, wow, this is so cool. And that's my dog there for scale, and my wee maw, like my mum, and then that's me lying on the thing that they have like made with all the different rocks, and then at the top they've got the Moine Thrust like thrusting over these Torridonian sandstones. I wish I had a stick, and then I could just point at it. Like Torridonian. Is it a stick?
In the bin.
Oh my goodness, this is amazing. I'm sorry. Yeah, cool. You've got your Torridonian sandstones here, and it works its way through like a pipe rock, like your Cambrian quartzite pipe rock, fucoid beds, saltarella bricks, I can never say that word, Burness limestones, and then you have your Moine supergroup lying on top. So it's a pretty cool diagram. And as well at Rock and Crag, that's where they first kind of like solved this controversy which was happening in the Scottish Highlands, because back in the day geologists would have nightmares about this and come and look at these rocks and be like, why is the crust done this? What's happened? Oh my god. So they would have nightmares in the middle of the night and wake up sweating because they thought that this was just going to happen in a day. But it doesn't happen in a day, obviously it takes millions of years, and I think we all know that now. But back then, yeah, they didn't think that, you know, things like that could happen, because they thought the Earth was only 4,000 years old, and no, it's not like 4,000 years old. So yeah, that's your Moine Thrust fault, very low angle thrust fault that kind of sits on top of your Hebridean terrain rocks. Your next set of rocks, your next terrain, the Northern Highlands terrain, which is this kind of terrain. Again, there's a lot going on. You have your Moine Thrust fault, which is the first major break like between the terrains, which is a low angle reverse fault that forms at the edge of that mountain belt, right? And that separates your Moine supergroup from your Burness limestones, as we've seen in the previous photograph. Now, the Moine supergroups are mainly made up of metasedimentary rocks, and that's what represents most of the geology in the Northern Highlands terrain. But you also have these lovely granitic intrusions that have kind of just popped up as you've had that mountain building event, when you've had obviously the subduction zone, which used to carry England, Avalonia, and Baltica as well, another continent, collide into Laurentia, which is another continent. So that Scotland was situated on. So yeah, there's a lot going on, but there's also some old red sandstone in the east side of the Northern Highlands terrain, and that was actually deposited, it was all the sediment that accumulated into what was known as Orcadia during the Devonian period, and it was just being eroded away from the mountains that sat here. These also represent the roots of the mountains, but I'm not going to go into too much detail about each group type, etc., because it gets really boring, although I have listed the groups there. But this is your Moine supergroup here. They were obviously originally sand, silts and muds, like all deposited into that old ocean, which was known as the Iapetus Ocean back in the day, like around 870 to 1,000 million years ago, which is a long time. Not as old as obviously the Lewisian nice, but yeah, quite old. So they've been polymetamorphosed as well, and they've undergone like quite a lot of like metamorphic like change like at certain areas and stuff. So they've been metamorphosed, like, which I actually think this is a little bit off, but when I was researching it, like, and don't get me wrong, I'm not an expert, I don't have a PhD or anything like that in the Geology of Scotland, but when you look into these things and start reading like and researching into it, like there's stuff that says it was, you know, some of it was kind of metamorphosed during orogeny known as an Orcadian orogeny, which was 820 to 790 million years ago, but then like the Caledonian orogenies, like the main mountain building event that really affected these rocks and pushed them westwards and upwards and thrust them on top of the younger rocks in your Hebridean terrain. So yeah, they're quite complicated as well, but really pretty to look at and contain lots of different like minerals, like if you know where you're going and stuff, like pretty cool to look at. Anyway, as I said before, in your east coast, which is like not even a good picture, but in this area up here, you've also had the erosion take place and like transported that sediment like into what was known as like Orcadian back in the day 400 million years ago, which is where your old red sandstone sequences like are found in your northern Highlands terrain. You can also find the old red sandstone in the Midland Valley, which we'll speak about later on. But this is basically all the sediments that accumulated into that lake, like just like from the Caledonian mountains, like that formed. So it's a lot of conglomerates and sandstones and flagstones. You've got carbonate flagstone as well in there. So there's a lot going on. There's obviously this basin subsiding at the time, which you can see in this next slide. So this is like where's my stick? I think my stick. So this is like, obviously no one in here is going to be really like, you know, familiar with what Scotland looks like, but this is your east coast of that northern Highlands terrain here, and obviously all the sediment was kind of coming like from the mountains that were up in here that aren't on this diagram into your Orcadian Basin, and that was obviously depositing all these sands and conglomerates, etc. And sometimes on the edges, sometimes this lake would evaporate, and you'd get like, it was added at this point in time because we were on like, this was right after like the collision of like the two continents, where you had Avalonia, which contained England, and you had Laurentia, which contained Scotland at the time. They both collided with each other, and like you ended up with like this continent known as Larisha or Larusha. I never say half the things in geology. And like it just opened up this massive basin, like where you had the deposition and subsidence, like obviously of all this sediment, like in your northern east side of Scotland. The cool thing about these rocks is you can go to certain places up here in Scotland that contain like lots of fish fossils. So this is known as the age of fishes in Scotland, and you can go find these fishes that just basically used to swim about the lake, and then they've died and they've just ended up at the bottom of the lake. And because it's an anoxic environment, it's got no oxygen in it, that there, you know, nothing's there to eat it. So it just gets buried, more sand on top, and then look at that, you've got a fish fossil. So I got the opportunity to go up to a quarry and actually see them take out the rocks, and you can see the different beds, like the lacustrine deposits, like of the sands and silts, like in that kind of picture there. And they usually use this flagstone or cave nest flagstone as your paving slab. So when you go to some of your main cities like Glasgow, Aberdeen or Edinburgh, you actually come across this stuff quite a lot. Obviously without the fishes, you wouldn't use that like as a slab on the floor, but you know, it's quite popular, like it's a good hard stone, and it splits like really easily along the bedding, and so it's used for these paving slabs that you see in these cities. So yes, we'll move on to the next slide, which is the Great Glen Fault. So as I said before, when you look at a map of Scotland, you can kind of see some of the topography changes. So here, which contains Loch Ness, also known as the place where Nessie, like the Loch Ness monster, was. I don't know if anyone knows about Nessie. I mean, he's not real. I mean, you can pretend that he's real. Some people might think that he's real. I mean, you never know. This is basically a big massive cut, a big massive scar in Scotland's like topography. It's clearly seen. You can see it from above. You can also see your kind of, you know, between the other two terrains, like your Grampian Central Highlands terrain and your Midland Valley terrain here. But like you've got the Highland boundary fault that separates those two terrains, right? So there's a lot going on. But this actually is a big slip fault. So as you can see, I've kind of drawn some arrows, but it's not the best. But this was moving like that way, and that was moving down the way. So they were slipping past each other. And like you obviously had as well, like the movement this way, which was causing like the Moine Thrust to the north and the mountain building and pushing up the way. So England, which was down here, that was where Avalonia was. That's going like up towards like Scotland, which was Laurentia at the time, and just this big massive like event happened, like this big tectonic event is happening. So as that's happening, as that plate's pushing, usually you get a slight slip associated with it, which is how the Great Glen Fault forms. So see when you look at, for instance, the San Andreas Fault, obviously that's there because you've got your subduction plate like just next to the Pacific Ocean, like that's subducting under the crust and it's also pushing, like but causing this strike slip. So usually you get strike slip faults like associated with a mountain building event at one point or somewhere like in there. So yeah, Caledonian orogeny again, I say that word a lot. I don't know if that's correct because I've read a few things like from a few different sources, but they say that this thing moved up to 500 kilometres, but I don't know if that's correct or if it's not correct. But like, because somewhere else I read it was only 120 kilometres, and I'm just like, how do you know? You know, but I guess in a way that each side, obviously you've got your Moine supergroup like in the northern part, and then your Torridonian supergroup to the south. They're both meta-sedimentary rocks, or a group of meta-sedimentary rocks, and they're both different ages, and they don't match up at either side. So they do know that it's moved up, you know, a substantial amount. Like for instance, like because I can't remember the actual how many miles it is, like between one end to the other, but if it doesn't match on either side, then yeah, it's thinking it will move some amount of kilometres. So yeah, moving on to our Central Highlands terrain, which looks nice and colourful and very complicated when you look at it up close. But this contains your Torridonian supergroup. It's separated by your Great Glen Fault to the north and your Highland boundary fault to the south. Your Highland boundary fault is actually like moving down the way, like so your lowlands, like that's a basin like that formed like just at the end of the Caledonian orogeny, like that's where all of your sediments like kind of got carried and pushed into this basin, which forms your low grade sandstone in the Midland Valley that we'll speak about in a minute. But yeah, Great Glen Fault to the north and Highland boundary fault to the south, and you've got this Torridonian supergroup, and you've also got your like Caledonian granitic intrusions again that have popped up just due to the partial melting of the crust when you've had that subduction zone form, like underneath Scotland, and pushing everything that way. It's obviously caused the partial melting to happen and these granitic intrusions to pop through. And also they're at the surface now because of all the erosion that's taken place over the last like you know, however many years it's been eroding away for. So yeah, these are the Torridonian supergroup, like, or this is the Torridonian supergroup. This is quite funny because see that picture that was taken like on a field trip that I was on with Daniel. Like, is that not mad? And he's sitting in this room. I can't remember where that's from though. I think it's Canada or like Open. Yeah, I don't know. Anyway, so that's kind of explained in a little bit more detail. These sediments, original like sedimentary rocks, were all kind of deposited off of like the, you know, off of Laurentia. So this is Laurentia, that's Avalonia, and around 600 million years ago, or 800 million years ago, whatever it was, 800. This is the Iactus Ocean. So these sediments that kind of came in and they've been deposited, and the Torridonian supergroup represents different, like, you know, it's split into different groups which are listed here, and they each have different kind of like rocks associated with them, like just depending on the type of environment that they were deposited in. everything. And obviously, as you know in geology, the sands get deposited first, and then your finer material kind of moves out into the deep marine environment and gets deposited last, because it's fine, it's just going to float out and end up like forming shales in your deep marine environment. So the Dalmatian supergroup's made up of like metamorphosed sandstones, siltstones, mudstones, like there's quite a lot going on. What's happened is this has went in reversal, so you've had extension, like stretching of the crust, but then it's like ended up like the oceanic crust has started subducting and you've had volcanic arcs form. Now Avalonia is still over here somewhere that contained England, and Laurentia here. And this is where you had like this plate starting to push that way, and then this plate started to subduct under, which you can see in England there's like evidence of it, like I can't remember the actual erosionary name, but when I was in the Lake District like 2 weeks ago at a slate mine, I recently learned how that slate formed and how it had volcanic plastic deposits in it, and I was like, what? I didn't know that. So it's quite cool and interesting, because you go to different places across Scotland and England and you learn something new, and it'll be the same tomorrow when we're out. I'm going to learn something new about Germany. So yeah, I still don't understand this process. Again, I don't know everything. Maybe Daniel will be able to tell us at the end. But how does it go from that to then like this, like where this side's subducting under, and you've got like your this plate subducting under that one, and Laurentia starts, you know, everything starts folding and foliating, and there's all sorts going on. Like honestly, blows my mind, geology, when you think about it. You're like, what? Anyway, moving on. Like from the Torridonian to, oh yeah, this is just a kind of good example of like what's going on like structurally underneath your Torridonian supergroup. There's quite a lot in there. I just thought I'd add that and just kind of make it a little bit more understandable. So, yeah. Caledonian orogeny. So obviously we've got like Scotland, which is here, Laurentia, which contains Scotland, Greenland, and North America. Avalonia was just a kind of sliver continent, like, and that contained England, and then you have Baltica, which is actually in here, that's not actually included in this diagram. So these all came together during what's known as the Caledonian orogeny, which is your main mountain event, and it kind of lasted between 490 and 390 million years ago, where the rocks were kind of just pushed like up towards like the west, like kind of in that direction. And you also had the plates subduct under, and you had the closure of that Iapetus Ocean. So there was a lot going on in Scotland, or not in Scotland, but you know, back then, Laurentia, Avalonia, back in the day, which caused all the metamorphism in the northwest Highlands and the central Highlands terrain. But as we move on, we kind of like move down the way, and we're now in our Midland Valley terrain. And as I said before, obviously you had the Scottish Highlands to the north, and this Highland boundary fault was moving at the time. And this was all subsiding, so it created a basin where, like, and also created like plains, like where you had like the deposition of your own grey sandstone, which sits like underneath everything else, like in this area, and then you have your carboniferous rocks here. Like your carboniferous rocks, like during that period of time, Scotland was situated at the equator, so the environment was a lot different. We had volcanism as well during the early carboniferous period, where we had lavas and igneous intrusions popping up, like for instance Arthur's Seat and the Campsies and the Barton Rock, and then Edinburgh Castle sits on top of like a volcanic plug that formed during this period of time. And then during just after that also you had your sedimentary cycle, so you had the transgression and regression of like the sea level, like so it's going up and down like over millions of years, of course. Like you have your Scottish coal measures deposited in this area, which is a combination of sandstones, siltstones, mudstones and coals. Obviously your coals represent those forests, those vast forests that once ruled, not ruled, but you know what I mean, like once were across Scotland, like that's where all your coal comes from. And that's actually why as well Glasgow and Edinburgh are situated where they are, because of the Industrial Revolution. These rocks in here and in here are all your Scottish coal measures, like so they wanted to mine out the coal and use it, for fuel, fossil fuels. There's a lot of places in Glasgow and Edinburgh that have worked coal seams, and that's why we go in and drill boreholes, because if you were to build a house or build a road or build a railway on top of worked coal seams, what's that going to do? It's just going to collapse in on itself. I don't know, do you guys have, is there coal seams here and stuff?
Coal?
Yeah.
Yeah, we have coal. But not pretty Bavaria or in the Lewisian.
Yeah, well, anyway, Scotland has lots of coal measure deposits and and Scotland was all kind of in this Midland Valley, and it was deposited during the Carboniferous period. And I love, like, this is the only thing I love about sedimentary rocks, right? But the fact that during the Carboniferous period, like there was more oxygen in the atmosphere, so things were a lot bigger. So you had millipedes that were like, you know, cutting about the place. Like cutting about just means like they were going about. Like that's another Scottish word that I probably should have included. They were kind of, you know, this size. Like I don't even know. Like they were big, and you had really big dragonflies at this period of time. And it's just because there was more oxygen in the atmosphere, because all of the CO2 was locked on an ice cap, like, not all of it, but you know, there was an ice cap on Gondwana, which was the continent to the south, like at the South Pole at this point in time, which contained South Africa and South America. So yeah, it was a lot going on during the Carboniferous period, but it's all kind of represented in our Midland Valley terrain, which is quite golden, like when you go to Scotland. The only time it's nice is if you go to a quarry like this one and you see the rocks and cross section and you're like, wow, this is amazing. Like, but my sedimentary geology I'm not keen on. But yeah, moving on. Southern Uplands terrain, which is our last terrain in Scotland, and it's separated by our Southern Uplands fault. This is actually an accretionary prism that's been kind of like pushed into, like, I mean, I'm just gonna hold this stick like and keep it in my hand for the remainder of the talk. So as I said before, like your Iapetus Ocean's here. It's quite a big ocean. You have a spreading ridge at one point as well, so obviously you've got new crust forming, and you have here like Laurentian and just a subduction plate, and you've got the Ballantrae complex here, which is this stuff here. You have some really beautiful ophiolites, like old oceanic floor that's just been thrust on top of like this continent, like of Laurentia, and found here in your Southern Uplands. So when you go down here, like you find like slivers of it, which is pretty cool and class, like to see. So yeah, that's been pushed up, thrust, like kind of pushed up onto that when you've had the subduction here. Then you're, I don't know what happened to the spreading ridge, it must have just got subducted to that side. And then obviously Abylonia starts moving north, and you've got your subduction zone here, and your Caledonian orogeny starts forming in here, where you've got like your partial melting of the crust. In Laurentia, you've got your metamorphism as well. But you also have this accretionary prism, which just kind of like gets caught up into as well the ophiolite complex that's been abducted onto the Laurentian crust. And then you end up like that. Abylonia and Laurentia are now together, and you have just this random piece of an accretionary wedge that represents this area here. So this is, again, we kind of go back in time, the Carboniferous period, and also I forgot to mention in the Midland Valley before, you have your new red sandstone, which is like a different sandstone to the old red sandstone, which was deposited in a desert environment. I completely forgot about that. I don't know if there was actually a bit at the bottom that, yeah, I forgot to mention this. So that's when Scotland was in a desert, so we'll just move on and pretend that didn't happen. Anyway, like, so yeah, there's a lot going on. Like, again, it's really nice coming down to Ballantrae and seeing some of these beautiful rocks. There's a lovely basaltic dike that cuts through it. That's the dog for scale again, because I didn't have my rock camera. I don't have anything for scale on that except for a branch, but you're not going to know the size of the branch. I know that geologists like to use things for scales, but I've just kind of forgotten that. And then your serpentine, like, which is beautiful, like absolutely stunning rocks that you can find in this like area down here. And then like kind of after the, obviously everything that was going on in those terrains, like around 65 million years ago, you had another kind of tectonic event happen where you had the North Atlantic Ocean, like the mid-oceanic ridge, like split apart and a spreading centre formed. So you have a lot of volcanism like that's found on your islands, like at this side, so the Isle of Mull, Ardnamurchan, Rum, like Skye, like Arran as well. And basically what's going on in Iceland today is what was going on in Scotland 60 odd million years ago, which is pretty cool and fascinating to see. And I actually had the opportunity recently last year to see it, and I cried. It was so beautiful. Like, I've never seen basaltic lava come out of the ground before. I've just seen it in hand specimen, and obviously the stuff in Scotland's quite old. It's, well, 60 million years old, so when you look at it, you're just like, oh. But when you look at that stuff, it's amazing. I went on a helicopter tour above it first because we couldn't walk up to the path. Like, and then the next day, like, I actually did the walk, and it was amazing. And then I lost my drone because it melted. So, fly drones over volcanoes and have them hover there for a few minutes. Like, there's some videos on my Instagram of not the drone died, it just cut out and I couldn't see the screen anymore, and I was like, oh no, I've lost it. And yeah, I cried again because I lost my drone. So really cool, really hot, beautiful basaltic lava spewing out the ground, and like, oh, it's just stunning. Like, I love Iceland. Like, has anyone in here been to Iceland? Or has anyone in here been to Scotland? Yes, I like it. Good. Oh, probably. Did they go on the same field trips as you, or did they go for the same reason?
Yes, same trip. Iceland is in September.
You get to go to Iceland.
Yes.
Oh, we all got to go to Arnmarken and
Sorry.
and like Malmo. I like Malmo, it was nice. So yeah, obviously the landscape of Scotland, like the last thing that's happened that's cut our landscape as we see it today, happened during the Quaternary period. You've had like the ice ages, like the interglacial periods, various glacial cyclones that have covered Scotland over and over again and cut the landscape as we see today. These are some beautiful, that's the Black Cullens, like Cullens, however you want to say it. These are some beautiful mountains that are found on the Isle of Skye, and you can't really see mountains like this anywhere else in Scotland. Like, they represent an old volcanic centre, like, which again formed during the Tertiary period, 60 odd million years ago, when you had the opening of the Atlantic Ocean. So that those magma chambers used to actually feed the volcanoes on Skye. You've got some really nice erratics there that don't belong there, like that just been dumped by the glacier, and you can see sometimes, you can't really see it, but there's like areas where you can go and see the terminal moraines like of the glacier that just pushed everything in front of it, or the drumlins, and you can see hanging valleys. Oh, it's just beautiful. But the landscape of Scotland's basically been cut down just by the most recent like ice ages that have happened over the last 2.6 million years. And I think that's it. Like, there's obviously quite a lot of information to like take in, but I hope you guys understood it. But yeah, there we go, sorted.
Are there any questions from the audience here?
Because I'm like, if any other geologists want to answer my questions for me, feel free to.
Yeah. Also via Zoom maybe, or
Oh yeah, I forgot. I should be looking at that.
maybe they have questions as well.
Yeah, I don't know actually. Have people been saying nasty things on this? Or have they been okay? Oh, they're only 38 watching now. They must have got bored. Well. I don't know. Why is this thing going crazy? Do I have to hold it here?
Yes.
Say hello. Yeah, everyone say hello. Right, how do I get this out? I don't know. Hi.
Oh.
Does anyone have any questions about the talk? Let's see. I actually have Scottish people in this. And English and Americans. No, they've just all kind of joined. No, that's fine then. That's good. No questions. Yes! Brilliant. Okay.
There's a question.
Oh, no. Go away, whoever you are.
Oh, no.
I'm kidding on. Oh, no. Oh, hello. It's nice to meet you.
Greetings from Argentina.
Oh, that's so nice. I like that. Where's Argentina? I should know that. I shouldn't have a degree in geology. Well, that's geography. Oh, bye guys. It's nice to see you.
All right. Then thank you all for coming. Ah, you have a question.
Oh no, Daniel, God.
Not geology, there was a question of where the pictures from, but that's Outer Hebrides.
What one? Get the slide up. Yeah, that's Outer Hebrides, yeah. That is Scotland. That is Scotland. That's the Isle of Highlands, and it's absolutely amazing. You can go there and, oh, it's like a Caribbean. It's deserted. Cold as fuck, but it's deserted. You know? Like, anyway, yeah. Yeah, it's nice. It's nice. You can go to Scotland and see that. I'll be doing a geology tour there, like hopefully in the I don't know when, but yeah, if you want to come over for that, just let me know, and we'll go up and see it. Yeah.
Right.
Anyway.
Great.
Okay.
Thank you, Dan. So I think we can have barbecue. It's
Yay!
right there, just outside of the building, and then turn left. Oh, yeah.
I'm like, thank goodness. Right. Bye guys, I'm going for the barbecue now. How long did I talk for?
How long? Well, it was like 45 minutes.
Oh, that's fine, yeah, I thought it would have been that. Like, what were people saying? TikTok live, that would have earned me money. Oh well.
Do you get more people live on TikTok?
No, but you earn money if you go live on TikTok.
Oh.
It's weird.
Oh,
Like, but I don't get as many people on TikTok because I've only got 30,000 followers on TikTok. But I thought Instagram's my biggest, following.
yeah.
I'm so hot.
I have the microphone.
The what? Oh yeah. I'm sorry.
But
I forgot
it was really entertaining. You have a way of presenting that is just so entertaining.
I
Amazing.
know, but I just end up not making sense at one point in people's faces, and I'm just like, oh, I don't think they're getting this, but I'll just wing it,
Have you at least had the feeling that the people understand you?
Yeah, and most of my slides are aimed at that's probably the most complicated set of slides, but and that's the ones as well that I did at the Edinburgh University thing.
Mm-hmm.
But most of my slides are very basic, and they do contain a lot more information about what a sedimentary rock is, what an igneous rock is, and what a metamorphic rock one is. But I was like, I'm not going to include that in this because they're all geologists. So, well, most of them are geologists, aren't they? Yeah.
Well, all of the students are at least students, and all the other ones are actual geologists.
Yeah. Okay. How do I stop? Are you sure you want to stop?